going on, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Johnny Salami podcast. Today's guest is a special one, Mr. Ryder. For those of you who don't know Mr. Ryder, Mr. Ryder was my high school English teacher. Also happens to be a great guy. Mr. Ryder, thanks for being here.
Hey, my pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Glad you asked.
Quite the conversation before we started. I do have questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird thinking, I was thinking this morning when I was working out, I was just like, I haven't seen you since 2010.
Yeah.
So it's been longer than I thought.
Yeah.
But it's kind of remarkable to think that I was sitting, in your class and now you're on my podcast. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's kind of mind blowing.
It is. No, I'll, when you asked me to be on, I was all for it right away. I know the first time we couldn't do it. But I was I definitely would love to do it someday because I like to see, I see you guys as 14 and 15 year olds.
Yeah.
And to see where you guys end up and what you do, I just love it.
Yeah.
I just love it. And if this is your passion, I'd love to be part of it, even if it's for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I probably said 4, maybe 5 words total when you were my teacher, but
yeah.
I feel like we had a mutual respect.
Yeah. I remember exactly where you sat.
Yeah.
All right. You were actually in my period 3 class that year. I don't remember the year, but I remember all these other details.
Yeah.
And at that time, the room was kind of set up in a half circle. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And you were the one closest to the door and where I would keep all my teaching materials.
Yeah.
And I always remember you coming in and you just sat down. You did not say a word at all, but your eyes were focused.
Yeah.
All right. You're incredibly mature, but no, I think we said 5 things all year. And I knew you were into sports too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were a quiet one, but incredibly respectful. I enjoyed having you in class.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, I'm going to be honest, I remember the first day I came in and we were setting up seats and you were I want, John, you're going to be sitting right here, right next to you. And first day you can kind of me personally, I'll look on the walls, see what's on the walls,
Yep.
Get a sense of who I have as a teacher. And there was a red flag. I remember looking over and I saw an Indianapolis Colts poster. And I was I don't know if I'm going to like this guy. You know what I mean?
I know. That's something that some kids just have to get over. They have to move past that. I will always be faithful to the blue, to the horseshoe.
Yeah. Why is that? Were you?
So just growing up, you know how growing up kids, they're bandwagon fans. One season they like this team, and I remember I like the Dolphins. Then I was obsessed with the Chiefs. I had a Chiefs blanket. I look back at all the stuff I threw out in my childhood. It was all these different teams. All right.
Yeah.
But one player I always loved was Marshall Faulk.
Mm-hmm.
And second back, by the way, I don't know if you know this, second back to ever have 1,000 yards receiving and catching in the same season. But I loved watching him at San Diego State. The Colts drafted him, and I just stayed with the Colts from the time he was drafted in 95.
So it was a player thing. You weren't born in Indianapolis or anything like that?
No, my dad worked. His company was in Indiana, so he liked to tell people that, it's because my company's out there. So I just let him go with that.
Yeah.
But no, it was a player thing. And a few years later, Peyton Manning was drafted. Mm-hmm. He had those miserable 3-13 seasons. The one before he came, and then his first year.
Did they win a game his first year?
They won 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1.
Yeah. You'd being one too generous right there.
So you watched Marshall Faulk at San Diego State.
Yeah.
Did you watch Peyton Manning at Tennessee at all?
No, I was never I just like Marshall Faulk in his style of play, just being a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And then Peyton Manning was drafted and just went from there. So it really wasn't a team thing. It was just more of a player thing, and I've stayed since. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was born in Baltimore.
Okay,
isn't the best place to be born. And I don't remember anything.
My cousin lives down there now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was born in Baltimore, and I was always just told that. I don't remember anything. I was too young.
Yep.
And then we ended up moving to Pennsylvania, and I had family in Pennsylvania who were Steelers fans. So you're going from Ravens to Steelers to Patriots. Then we moved here. And I was always a diehard Patriots fan, but I was in love with Ray Lewis, watching Ray Lewis play, especially back then. but I was never scared of Ray Lewis. Like as a Patriots fan,
Yeah.
I was scared of Peyton Manning.
You
Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne were like the scariest duo as a Patriots fan, especially like 07.
Yeah.
I just remember watching those games and being like, we're screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it was, but.
Well, that coming to Gillette, having the Patriots come to Gillette in the winter time, that was frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Like, because I knew, I'll admit, because my buddies, like, they're all Patriots fans. So,
Yeah.
all right, we would always bust back and forth. But that was the frustrating hump because we could never, the Colts could never win in New England.
Yeah.
In the wintertime. And even when they won the Super Bowl, it's because they had it at home. The Colts that year they won in 07, Colts were the 2 seed and the Pats were the 3 seed. So that AFC championship, Pats had to go to Indianapolis when Tom Brady threw that interception. Marlon Jackson got it in like the final 30 seconds. And it was just like, thank God they finally got past the Patriots.
So I don't know too much about the call. When did they win the Super Bowl? Was it like 07 that they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, 07, so the 06 season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who they play, like the Bears or something?
Yeah, it was the rain. I don't know if you remember the rain game in Miami. Devin Hester returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. I was screaming at the TV. All right? I was screaming at the TV.
Imagine punting to that guy.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
When did, so I remember just being scared of Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne. But, like, do you know what Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning all time, like, them head-to-head, what's their record?
Head-to-head?
Yeah. I feel like Tom Brady probably has more wins, right?
Tom Brady definitely would have more wins. If I had to guess, probably has like a 650 record against Peyton Manning.
Honestly, like, I'm not even, like, being smart. Like, it never felt like that. Like, it always felt like Peyton Manning was honestly better.
Well, you always had that feeling like if there was anybody who could beat Brady and the Patriots, it was going to be him.
Yeah.
Like that was the one. He was the one guy, and he just couldn't do it on the road. Like I think it was 04 in the playoffs. I was in college at the time, and the flight back because we went on vacation during myself and a few buddies went on vacation during winter break, and we came back, and then the Colts were playing at New England that Sunday.
Yeah.
And this was before like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all that. So like the whole flight home, I'm like, what the heck? What's the score? What's going on? And we land in, I don't know, Boston or Providence. And somebody finally finds out and it goes down the rows. And it was the game, I think it was the divisional round. Colts lost 20-3. And I just like start hitting the airplane. Like it was so frustrating always losing to New England in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So, but just out of curiosity, if you were born, you said you were born in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So were you like, is it like Colts hatred down there?
I don't know. I've never been. I don't know if I would want to be like ever there, to be honest. Like from what I've seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to bash my hometown.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've got like, obviously the drug problem down there, everything that's going on. I don't know what the nice parts would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like my dad was a hardcore Dan Marino fan.
Okay.
When he was growing up, he was in love with it. Like he had the Wheaties box and everything. We had like matching sweaters and like
awesome.
So he was a Dolphins fan, and then I remember going. I mean, I was born in Baltimore, so I felt like a due diligence. Like growing up to like have that, like if I wasn't a Patriots fan, I'd probably be a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Yep.
Not a big fan of the Steelers, honestly.
Good.
Never been a Steelers fan, but like all my family in Pennsylvania, they're like diehard Steelers fans, and they hate the Patriots. So I'm just like, whatever. Like we beat you every year, like it's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I just felt like growing up, like I always felt like I should have been a Ravens fan, but I don't know. I was always a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's because like I remember being here.
Yeah, you remember being here, and that's their heyday. I mean, it lasted so long.
And everyone loves Tom Brady, and like I can't argue. You know what I mean? Like it's even when he went to Tampa Bay, it was kind of like I've probably watched more Tampa Bay games than I did Patriots, and I'm just being honest. It's just fun to watch him play.
Yeah. And I'll admit, like as a Colts fan, like I don't hate Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I think I'll say like he probably is. He's the most accomplished football player in the history of the game. And to do what he's doing at this age, like, and you see pictures of him, dude looks better at 43
Yeah.
than he does at 23. So how he takes care of himself, it's impressive.
It's hard not to watch like, even if I wasn't a Patriots fan, I'd probably still watch the games too because of all the comebacks.
Yeah.
Even if I followed him at Michigan, like all those comeback games, like how can you not enjoy watching those?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder what that Michigan coach or recruiters feel like not seeing that talent that was there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the draft is kind of like a joke anyway.
The NFL draft?
Yeah. I mean, like the analytics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to measure someone? Like, I guess you can get like a solid base off of it, but the projections are wrong every year.
Yeah, they are. I feel that way about the NBA draft too. It's like all potential.
Yeah.
It's like the younger you are, it's not so much what you've accomplished, but if you have the right measurements, right, and the right individual vertical jumps and all that, then we'll give you more money. It's so much potential.
Yeah, I never followed the draft or like the analytics because every year I was like they would just hype up someone and then they just like once they get to the NFL it's just like they just fall off.
Yeah.
And it's just like what more do you need to just not watch the draft? You know what I mean? But it's like it's always exciting to see people come up, you know. Yeah. But yeah, when I walked in your class, I was just like, I wonder what the story is behind this. I just didn't want to raise my hand and be like, what is this?
Yeah, that would have been the first time.
You'd have been like, whoa.
Yeah. No, I always keep a few up there, but I keep the one score from the 38-34 game in the AFC Championship when they finally got over the hump. And there's a couple of Peyton Manning up. Yeah. So, but yeah,
it's pretty cool though.
Yeah, I got a new classroom now. It's a lot smaller, so I don't know if it's gonna make the cut. Yeah, losing a lot of wall space. Losing a lot of wall space.
Yeah, but like, so you were in college in 2004?
Yeah, I graduated college in 2005.
So you're 5 years in. Oh, not even. When did you start your first teaching gig?
I was lucky. I graduated Rick in 2005, and I had to take summer classes just to finish up the degree. Yeah. And so I finished up that July, and then I started applying for teacher jobs, English positions, like at the end of July, beginning of August, and I was lucky enough to get the job at Cumberland. Yeah. Straight out of college at 22.
I mean, let's be honest, like, hands down, like the most notable teacher that I can think of. Like, I don't know if you pay attention to any of that, you know what I mean? But like when I was a freshman, even when I was a senior, like we were all like, dude, you remember Mr. Ryder, man? Like that guy was the man. And like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, do you take pride in that, or you just kind of like?
I do, because it's weird. Like you can get evaluated and they get this score and that score, but I know it's kind of cliche, but like it truly is like the relationships and what lasts that leaves an impact. So like the other day on Facebook, there was one girl and they've been friends. Apparently they met in my class over a group project. Yeah. And it was on the post like been X amount of years since we met in Mr. Ryder's class, and one of them just started complimenting the other. And like I wrote on it like, hey, glad this provided more than just learning about Shakespeare. Yeah. So I do take pride in that because it's not like you want it. It's not a popularity contest. Like teachers really, they liked whatever. Yeah. All right. But you want to just have a positive impact on someone, because one of the pieces of advice, especially to a new teacher, I know a lot of new teachers are like, I want to be liked. I want to be liked. And it's not about being their friend, but being friendly. And if you can be friendly, that can build that rapport that hopefully, all right, it's not just a teacher that, all right, I'm done their class, but hey, I took something out of that class, whether it was academic, social, whatever it may be.
Yeah. It was always like, I was too young to pick it out. Like, I mean, you probably had kids with ADHD in your class who were going to the doctor and they were like, listen, like, I don't need this Adderall anymore. Like, I have Mr. Ryder. You know what I mean? Like, it was because I knew the people in my class and I had seen them in other classes. And in your class, they were just like locked in. in other classes, you know, who knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're getting detention. Like, so I was just like, what is it about this guy? But I mean, you made Shakespeare interesting. You made everything interesting. And yeah, honestly, like even as seniors, because like in high school, you don't have many teachers where you're like, that's a great class. You're kind of like dreadful, especially when you're in athletics. You're just like, I had practice last night. I just want to get this over with.
Yeah, you're tired.
But just the way, like, even like considering like the average attention span was like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like you had everyone.
That's generous.
Yeah, you had everyone locked in, and everyone like I've never heard anyone say anything bad about you.
I appreciate that.
But I always wondered like if you took pride in that, or if it was kind of like a therapist type thing, like where you're like I don't want to be friends, but I'm gonna help you out. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. It's just like the two things. Like being a teacher, like excluding like all the content, the academic stuff. Like the two things I strive to be, I'm gonna be authentic. All right, because I know it's not. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're a teacher." Like part of your job is almost like an entertainer. Like if I've had an awful morning at home, all right, if my daughter had a meltdown and it was frustrating, like I've got to leave that at the door for my first period class at 7:15. But I'm not gonna hide what happened. Like, hey guys, it was a frustrating morning for me. Like this is what happened. So being authentic with what goes on with me and also how I act towards them. Yeah. Because I'll tell you one thing, teenagers, they'll pick up a fraud like that. They'll pick up a fraud any moment. So I just wanted to be authentic, and then just know that I'm here to help. Yeah. Because it's not easy being a high school kid. Yeah. I've always said like I loved high school, but I wouldn't want to go back to it because I was there, of course, pre-social media. Oh, yeah, I would not want to do it today.
Yeah. No, high school was tough.
Yeah.
The thing I respected about you most was like, because I was super quiet.
Yeah.
So I would always get like roasted by teachers. You know what I'm saying?
For being quiet?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was painful.
Never do that.
Yeah, so I would I would go to different classes, and like anytime I raised my hand, like the teacher would be like, John's about to say his first words. Everyone like, you know what I mean? Like they would always
all eyes on you.
Yeah, so that was my biggest struggle like throughout high school, even college, but I never really understood like what was wrong with being quiet. Like isn't that kind of like what you want? You know what I mean?
Well, it's weird that you say that because in high school, I was incredibly quiet.
Yeah.
Like around my buddies, like I was vocal, but in class, like honestly, I was very similar to you.
Yeah.
I was quiet, sat, paid attention, did what I had to do, and that was it. But it's weird like, what you said, and this is something I do take pride in, what you said about how like students will observe how other people or other students act in my class versus others. Yep. And like last year, I got a note at the end of the year from a girl. And like those notes, like I keep them. All right. Yeah. That's honestly the best thing about being a teacher is when you get those notes, because sometimes you don't even know what you did. And she was saying just how, you created a classroom environment that made people so comfortable. She's like, there were so many people who acted who felt comfortable in here that don't in other classes. And thank you for doing that. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, I just try to be authentic and just know I'm here to help. And if you help yourself, I'll help you. I can't help you if you can't help yourself first. Yeah. So, but no, I love being a teacher.
Yeah, it's like weird to think about like now that I'm at my age, because like a lot of people I wouldn't want to be a teacher because of like the parents or whatever, but at the same time like you have a long-lasting effect on kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're here now. It's been 11 years?
Yeah, I was surprised by how long it's been.
Yeah. Well, I did see you at my comedy show, and that wasn't that long ago. So
yeah, it feels like so long ago because of COVID. But yeah, I remember since you graduated, I remember catching you at one of it was a baseball game at Lincoln High. Do you remember that?
Lincoln High.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a super brief conversation though.
Yeah, I think because I was talking to Joe Fine first.
Yeah, I think we went together.
Okay. Yeah. I remember I was just talking to Joe because he was telling me he was at Bryant at the time. Yeah. And I think you met him up there. So we talked briefly. And then the whole comedy show, my wife and I, we were just looking like a date to go out on. Yeah. And I'm like, let's go to a comedy show. And You probably know him. It's one of my coworkers' buddies, Brian something.
Yeah, Brian Bowden.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So he was
headlining, yeah.
he was there, and then I looked at the rest of the lineup, and I saw John Psyche, and I was
Oh,
like,
really?
"We're going, we're going."
Really?
End of story.
Yeah.
Find the babysitter, get the grandparents. We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was headline. It was my birthday. I remember that. It was like
That
my
day was your birthday?
Yeah, it was April 20th.
Yeah.
And I knew I was booked on the show, but they were like, "Yeah, Brian's headlining. Like, you want to do like an opening spot?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like,
Yeah.
I'll say yes to pretty much almost anything."
Yep.
And that day I was super sick. I couldn't even speak. So I was like chugging Dayquil before I went. And I remember walking in and seeing you, and I was like, I don't know if I should say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people are always like, because this happens like sometimes, like I'll go to the connection and I'll see someone that I know, like from a professional standpoint, and they'll be like, dude, like when you see people like that, are you just like do you just not tell them? Like, do you just change your set? I'm like, no, I just go up there. You know what I mean? Like I've literally done shows at like laundromats, and I've seen people I know doing the laundry, and they're just like, yeah, I'll just wear dirty clothes for like 2 weeks. Like I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, it wasn't a big deal for me, but it was definitely like cool to see. You know what I mean?
No, we enjoyed the show. It was, and like I said, to see when you guys grow up and see you out of that classroom or that athletic element.
Yeah.
That's what's awesome, because like I know you have a passion for comedy, like you're following what you want to do, and I mean, I couldn't tell you were sick that night. All right, so you did an awesome job, and even like now one of my daughters, she just started dance.
Mm-hmm.
One of her dance teachers is one of my former students.
Yeah.
So just to see like the evolution of you guys, and it's just, I don't know, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I almost felt bad. I was like, I've said maybe 5 words to this guy, and now he's gonna see me on stage. Like, might affect him mentally a little bit. But
yeah, no, you said a lot more than you ever said in the entire year in my class. There's nothing wrong with that though.
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad you feel that way. I mean, honestly, like, I'm sure like a lot of people. I mean, when you start comedy, obviously they're like, "Good luck with that, man."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's cool that like you're happy people are actually pursuing things that they want to do instead of just being like, you should do this instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know the whole, well everyone's got to go to college, but
yeah.
And I know you obviously have a successful degree, but you have an interest in something, pursue it.
Yeah.
All right, pursue it. That's been kind of my motto.
Yeah.
So
that's dope.
Yeah.
It's dope that you think that way.
So
that's like the opposing thought process of most teachers. You know what I mean? Like not to bash teachers.
Oh, I know.
Like you're a rare breed. You know.
So well, I don't know about that, but well,
being honest, you know what I mean?
I appreciate it.
But like as far as like when you went to college, why English? Like,
to be honest, I just knew I wanted to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I had English, so I kind of decided I wanted to be a teacher. The year I was graduating high school, I liked high school, and I was kind of like, let me just stay there. So I was like, maybe I'll be a teacher. Like, I like working with teenagers. Like, it's a fun group. I like high school. Like, I could stay here. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really know what I wanted to teach. I just knew I wanted to be high school. Like, I could not teach elementary or middle school. I couldn't do that. So I always knew high school. And at first, I wanted to teach history. And then I realized all I wanted to teach was American history because I kind of like it. But you can't really pick what class you're going to teach. Yeah. So and then I was like, let me try math. So then I took calculus.
Wow.
And like I did all right in it. And then I was like, because I never really had like a passion for a science or a math or English. Like, I never had. I know like some people are like, oh, I'm a math person, I'm a science person, I'm an English person. Like in high school, I never really had a draw to one of them. Yeah. And then, of course, in college, they make you write a lot more. And I remember taking my Western Lit class. It was second semester freshman year. And I was like, it's kind of cool to like pull these books apart. I know you guys probably don't find it so cool, but that's the challenge. I try to make it fun for you guys, to pull these books apart and teaching people how to write. And the day I needed to go have some paper signed to declare like English major. So it was funny. It was the day I ended up getting my midterm back in one of my English classes, and the professor wrote at the bottom of it, like, great insight or whatever. Have you ever considered being an English major? And it was the day I actually was going to ask her for a signature because I needed a professor's signature on that declaration.
Yeah.
And I just declared it, and I took the classes, and I could tell like there were people in there that were like diehard English like fans.
Yeah.
And I was never like I love English. I love what I teach, but I went into teaching more for the teaching part than being in love with the content.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a stigmatism behind going to college for English.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with a liberal arts degree? What are you going to do with, with specific degrees? But it's crazy when you, like, even now where I am, like, writing is so important. Like, writing, I mean, you have to be good at writing in almost, like, the majority of jobs. So where do you think that comes from? Like the stigmatism in general towards that. For
the liberal arts?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it's always been around.
Yeah.
And that stigma of like, oh, the English geek, like sitting there drinking their cold brew nitro at like the local coffee shop, like not going to a mainstream coffee shop. It's got to be an independent one downtown.
Starbucks.
Yeah. And it's always been there, but with the rise of like, I think we talked about it earlier, like there's this pressure for a lot of kids, like go towards engineering, go towards mathematics, technology, the whole STEM industry. And I feel like liberal arts have gotten a back seat to that. And with that comes writing. And it doesn't matter what profession you're in, you do have to be a coherent, clear writer. And I don't think a lot of kids realize that even in a business setting. So like, this is actually a new assignment. It's going to be our first assignment this year. I'll tell you about it now. We've noticed, and when I say we, I'm talking about like the other myself and the other freshman English teachers. Yeah. We've noticed a decline in email etiquette. Like I've had kids in the past few years, like, right, like, yo, why did I fail this? Like that's like, not like, hey, Mr. Ryder, or hi, Mr. Ryder, I noticed I didn't do so well on the essay. Could we conference about it? Like I've literally gotten emails that start with yo, or like just like, Ryder, why'd I do so bad? Wow. So our first assignment this year is literally, it's still writing, but email etiquette.
Yeah.
So
that's wild. I never would have thought of that, to be honest.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It didn't happen when you were around.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sending probably like 50 emails a day too.
Yeah.
Which is like super important.
Yeah.
So I mean, at least it'll relate to the real world.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, obviously. Like when you're in high school, they're just like, like none of this pertains to the real world.
No.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, without a doubt, English relates to the real world.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not. But there are some classes where you're like, probably not going to use this.
I've always had a lot of kids ask me about math class, like during advisory.
Yeah.
Like when you were there, was there advisory or was it still homeroom?
It changed. So, yeah, when I started, it was advisory, and then it changed as it became like the new principal came on.
Okay.
I think it changed to like some sort of reading.
Were you there? The stop everything and read.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And the whole, like, no matter where you were, you had to stop and read something.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Just keep it at that.
Yeah, we'll just keep it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of kids ask me like, Mr. Ryder, this algebra 1 or whatever, when am I going to use this in life? And I mean, I can't speak to that, but I mean,
yeah, there's actually a comedian who has a joke about that.
About algebra?
Yeah, like right angles and stuff.
Yeah.
he was just talking about like how he's never going to use like what he learned in algebra class in the real world.
Yeah.
Like if a carpenter's at his house, he's not going to be like, dude, is that a right angle? Like, so he has like he'll have jokes about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, math. I was never a big math guy. What I always wondered, like, this was more towards like when I was in college. I probably took like, I remember taking this one history class, and my teacher, she would always like, she would have opposing views from like what I was taught in high school, and I would be like, I don't understand this, and then I thought deeper, and I'm like, wait a second, like, I have like a buddy who's a history buff, and I always ask him this. I'm like, how do I know what's like written in this book is correct? How do I know who wrote this? Like, when was it established? Because like we all have a different perspective, right?
Yes.
So like you'll see something, I'll see something. We'll both have two different views on it of what we saw, and then there's like what actually happened. Isn't that what history is, really?
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, and I think that's something that a lot of kids don't learn till late high school and in college. Everything you read is funneled through a lens.
Yeah.
All right. So you have your own lens based on your own past experiences, your own biases, your own beliefs. All right. But then you got to look at the same thing for the author. All right. Because like you said, well, they wrote it. How? Because it's in a book it was published. So does that make it accurate? So I think that's actually a good thing. All right.
Yeah.
To have that critical lens and that viewpoint. Because so many kids will just be like, oh, it's written there, must be right. And when, especially today with, I mean, the misinformation that's out there, you don't want to take everything literally at just how it's written when it's published.
So you think that's like when critical thinking comes into play?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's an opportunity to use social media as a way to teach critical thinking. But unfortunately, you bring anything from social media, and because I've tried to do it a few times, and everyone gets caught up in who it's coming from.
Yeah.
All right. And not really seeing, well, why did that person say that? Just, oh, I like this person, I don't like that person. That makes it right.
Yeah.
So I do think part of the critical thinking, all right, comes from that different lens, which is good.
Yeah. It's just like the whole like Christopher Columbus thing. You know what I mean? Like you're taught like he's a hero, and then later on you're like, wow, he was actually a murderer. Like, why?
He committed genocide.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that guy was ruthless.
Yeah.
I mean, because I remember I used to have a censorship unit that I would teach. I don't know if we read it in your class, but Haroon and the Sea of Stories. Does that sound familiar? No. You probably just forgot about Fresh. Just forget. I didn't read it. All right.
I remember some stuff. I remember like Shakespeare and like To Kill a Mockingbird and like all that.
Okay. All right. Awesome. But there's one book that I teach some years, Haroon and the Sea of Stories, and it's an allegory against censorship. And one of the, like, to introduce censorship, we would talk about Columbus, all right, and how we grow up, especially in elementary school. There's a holiday for him. He's a hero. He discovered America. Well, no, he didn't do that. All right. And now there's a whole group looking to censor that, and rightfully so. I mean, I think some states have like renamed it Indigenous Peoples Day, and other names like that. But yeah, Columbus, his actions, his brutality was censored
like an
quite a
extreme
time.
example too. Like I think probably the most notable example. There's like so many conspiracy theorists behind Hitler.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously, like that's what everyone remembers from history class.
Yeah. Do you guys learn a lot about Hitler? And
that's like the other thing, especially in college. Like you'll learn something in high school about Hitler, right?
Yeah.
You know, caused a genocide.
Yeah.
All this other stuff. When you get into college, that's kind of like when all the conspiracy theories like come out.
Yeah.
And you got to realize, like, I'm in a class, like, I haven't said a word. I'm just listening to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is cool. You know what I mean? But there's always, like, the conspiracy theorists. And then there's all, like, these different point of views. And then you have your teacher, too, who's expressing her point of view.
Yep.
And you're just trying to piece things together.
Well, when you said piece things together, personally, I think that's part of the beauty of education, because you come in with your own, you're just introduced to a book or a topic.
Yeah.
And you're going to have your interpretation of it based on your lens and your past experience. But then the teacher, you're going to pick up on the teachers no matter what.
Yeah.
Our teacher can and I try to do it, just remain as neutral as possible in a perspective. But eventually you can, if you listen close enough, you can pick up nuances through their body language, tone of voice about where they stand. But then you get your other classmates too. And it's not like one is right and one is wrong, but I think the most important job of a student is to kind of piecemeal them together to figure out what your viewpoint is.
How do you find that balance, though, when kids are writing for you and they just have, like, one solidified point of view and they're like, this is the right way, there's no other way?
It's funny that you ask about that, because that happens because kids always ask, well, what happens if I write, if my thesis is completely different from what you think? All right, that's actually come up a lot more the past few years with argumentative writing. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I'm trained. I can put my opinion aside.
Yeah.
It's as long as and I just look at the evidence from the text and your interpretation of it. So, like, there was a couple years ago, there was a girl, I think the question, I forget what the prompt was, but it was the book Tending to Grace. And just to make it quick, the protagonist, young girl Cornelia, and she does not speak at all. All right. Come to find out, it's because she has a stutter. And then you find out on top of that, her mom abandoned her. So she's dealing with a lot, and it's about her kind of overcoming her stutter and recognizing she can grow from the loss of her mother.
Yeah.
So it was a prompt of, like, and I know this isn't the exact wording, so bear with me. All right. But do you see Cornelia as a sympathetic or an unsympathetic victim? All right. So notice the word victim is already in there. The student she said, I don't see her as a victim at all. All right. So she created a whole different argument about how she would be seen. And, like, she had no sympathy for this character whatsoever, despite the turbulence she went through in her own life. And I said, as long as you can support it with textual evidence, and she did successfully, all in how she inferred and interpreted, and it was logical. So and that's part of, I'm actually glad I ended up teaching English, because you can see those different perspectives.
Yeah.
So it's just about, it's like how people say, leave your ego at the door. You just got to leave your opinion at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of it. I mean, I've never been political, and I don't want to get into politics.
No, neither do I.
Yeah,
I try to stay away from it.
Yeah, I know we both don't.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting when you have, like, all these different news outlets, all different sources of information, and you have to piece things together. But then you also have people who are just, like, one-sided, like they're not very open-minded.
Yeah.
It's cool to watch. I'm not going to partake in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've never once in my life followed politics, and I've been fine.
Yep.
So
I'm John. I'm with you 100% on that. Like, I can have my own opinion. I'll keep it to myself. But, like, I have a buddy, and he is very vocal about certain political beliefs.
Yeah.
They don't always match up with mine. I don't let it impact our friendship.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. Like, we disagree, but our friendship, we've been friends since elementary school. Like, we're not going to let our different beliefs impact our friendship. And I don't know. Like,
unfortunately, sometimes that probably does happen. But I mean, I was always taught, agree to disagree.
Yep.
That's all it really is, right?
That's it. Because I love it. Like, you go on social media, and of course it's those people that have the extremes that post. Yeah. And then the other people come back with a comment opposing it. Like, do you really think you're going to change somebody else's position with a Facebook post or a comment? Yeah. It's just, and it's
wild.
That's what everybody sees are the two extremes. And then there's probably more people like you and I who just, hey, let's stay out of it. It is what it is. Yeah. And those are the voices that you don't see every day on a screen.
Yeah, I think it's like legitimate poison.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I went rogue for a while. Like I went off the grid, off social media.
Yeah.
I've never felt so good in my life.
I'm sure,
Like it was undeniably
liberating.
Like it was insane. I was like, I don't have to like see any of this.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that I'm off it. No one cares. It's the best feeling ever. You know what I mean?
There is, and I mean, I'm older than you, but
yeah.
I mean, by the time I graduated college, it was, I think Facebook came out in like 2007, so I'd been teaching a couple years then, and that's the only social media. And of course, 15-year-olds today, they're like, Facebook, that's for old people. All right, and that's fine. But even like I could not, like, I don't have a Twitter, I don't have Instagram, like I don't. So I would imagine that to be so time consuming, unless it's for professional purposes.
Yeah, so, like sometimes I'll do something that I typically wouldn't like. So when I got off social media, I would start doing things that I typically wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Like
how long were you off for?
4 months, which felt like a year.
Yeah.
The first week, I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
No, because I've done it before, just with like Facebook. That was one thing, and I lasted like a month. But you're right; it's like withdrawal. Like the first few weeks are the hardest.
I felt kind of like a coward because I have this, so I didn't do this the whole time. I just went off the grid. I don't think anyone noticed, but you know, who cares? You know what I mean? That's the thing. I was like, when I did it, I was like, I'm not telling anyone. You know, I'm not gonna put up a Facebook post. It's like, hey, listen, I'm off this.
Some people will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's like I'm just gonna do it, see what happens, and go with it. So like the first week, I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
After that, I literally just forgot about it.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't even play that huge of a role in my life.
It doesn't.
But I think that's like where it gets poisonous, because you think when you see something that you're a part of it, that it actually affects you, and it doesn't.
No.
Like that person doesn't even know who you are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the scariest thing, is when people like they follow other people's lives and they're like, I think it's almost like they think like they know.
Yeah.
You know. It's like,
well, like I said, a screen gives everybody courage.
Yeah.
Screen gives everybody courage, unfortunately, and I don't know. I'll pass on that.
Yeah. I think it takes a sense of pride. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think for me, I just wanted to prove that I'm not selfish.
Yep.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to prove to myself that I don't need this.
Because social media, and I'm not saying, like, social media, I know we can already tell, like, I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
All right. But it does have its purposes. Like, you can reach a wider audience. All right.
Yeah.
But for just using it on a daily basis to express your own personal opinions, how far is that going to go? I don't know. I just think you can find a better use of your time.
Even if you like, when I went off the grid, I would do these like small tasks.
I love how you call it like off the grid. Like I feel like you're going like
that was the
woods
goal
somewhere.
That was the goal.
All right.
You know, I just wanted to get away.
You ever hear of the North Pond Hermit?
No.
No. Can I say it really quick?
Yeah.
All right. It's a true story too. I read a book about it a few years ago. So there's this guy, I forget his name, but it happened up in Maine. It was 25 years. He left his car on the side of a road in Maine, not far from where he lived.
Yep.
And it was North Pond. I forget the name of the town in Maine. And he chose to live in the woods, Thoreau style, all right, for 25 years. And now, obviously, the weather in Maine gets cold, but the woods were behind this pond, and in front of that pond was like this local campground. And every summer and early fall, he would break into vacation homes, and he wouldn't like ransack it, but he would take like canned food, beans, all right, blankets, magazines for entertainment. Of course, all the locals and the vacationers, they created, when you fit the fear of the unknown, they started to call him the North Pond Hermit, because nobody could ever figure out who was breaking in. And there was some fear in the community until he was finally caught in around like 2011 or 12. But for close to 25 years, he lived, I mean, that's extreme, in solitary isolation by choice. Yeah. So when I hear you say like off the grid, like I picture you like going off into the woods, like setting up camp. All right.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and that's, I don't know. I hate the, like, I like the word balance, but I also hate it. Like,
Okay.
because I was like, yeah, I'm off the grid now, and like in my head, I'm like, am I just gonna like not talk to anyone? Am I just gonna be like alone? Like, and I was like, dude, don't do that. Like, don't be dramatic. You
Yep.
know, don't just be like, I want nothing to do with you people. It was just solely based on social media. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm off that grid.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as far as like, I've still got buddies I'm hanging out with. It's just not publicized. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so that was like the balance I needed to find. It's like
Yeah.
you're not. I'm not like isolation is terrifying. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't want to completely isolate myself from society. Like it's important to communicate with people.
But people view getting off the technological
Oh, yeah,
grid,
yeah, yeah.
they view that as isolation. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's like I'm just getting off that grid that you're holding right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like its own world. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you do it again?
no, because of comedy, and that's the only reason.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah. Because you have an audience you need to reach.
Yeah, it's like if I didn't have comedy, I would definitely be off the grid. I'd
Yep.
just be like, this isn't even worth it. But you have Facebook, and that's where you find like where all the open mics are, and like where you can go.
Okay.
And you know, like bookers see that, they'll be like, oh, John did a show here, and you know, it's tough. That's the only reason I have Facebook. I won't use it for anything else.
Yeah.
But then Instagram, it's cool to have a platform where like you can make other people laugh. Like I was making sketches for a while, just like comedy sketches, and I'm like, there's really like no negative, you know, connotation to this. I'm just like, you know, just like trying to make as many people laugh as possible.
Yeah.
Whether I like win or lose, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all it is. But
But it's like you use it just from a more sensible.
it's a joke. It's
purposeful
a
view-
joke in general. I might as well put jokes
It's
out
not-
there.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like it's tough. Like, because if you see something on Instagram and it makes you upset, it's like that's your fault. You know what I mean? Like you read it. Like, it's nobody else's fault.
Yep.
And like you want to help other people, like people who are, you know, like I think motivation is garbage, personally. Like I think motivation is like a feeling, right?
Okay.
You know, it's not something that's going to be around every day. I think discipline's more important than motivation, right? So when I go on Instagram and I see someone who puts up like a motivational quote, which happens all the time, and then you see them in real life and they're not taking any action.
Yeah.
Like honestly, that bothers me.
Yep.
But it's like it's my fault. Like I you know,
Yeah.
I associated myself with that person. I read what they put up.
Yeah.
And like the fact that even like moderately bothers me. You know what I mean? Like it's like what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
I'm wasting my time. But there was things like that. Like the big, and that's what I was gonna ask you. I was like, do you think discipline is more important than motivation?
That's tough because they're both so important.
Yeah.
Like even when you just said it right now, like I was thinking to myself, which one is more important?
Because like motivation's a huge. It's getting more and more popular, because you have like well-known public speakers now.
Yep.
My favorite public speakers are the ones who say that motivation's garbage. Like it's all about discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's just my point of view. You know.
Oh yeah. I think discipline. I think you need to have a combination of the two, because that discipline, I think that's going to separate you from other people.
Yeah.
All right, just no matter what you do. But the motivation, and this is one thing I've been trying to figure out for teaching for 16 years. How do you intrinsically motivate someone?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make them want to do something? Because if they don't see the benefit in it, like to say which one is more important.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Man,
yeah.
honestly, that's a tough one. I would. I think it's. I know this doesn't answer your question completely. I think discipline is harder to find than motivation within someone, because I think discipline is what separates people in any industry that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I personally think you can be motivated and still not do anything.
Oh,
But I think discipline is actually doing it, like when you don't want to do it.
yeah. All right. Like, I mean, discipline is action.
Yeah.
Discipline is action. Like you said, all right, like you can put up as many quotes on social media as you want.
Yeah.
All right. And people can give it as many clickbaits and likes as they want. But are you going to act on that? Do you have the discipline to act on whatever that quote is? And that's what I think that's what separates people, whether it's as a friend, as a worker, as a teammate, as a coach, whatever it may be. So I don't know. I think discipline would be more important just because it's the factor that separates you.
Yeah. So much harder to work on though.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to do this right now, but I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah. And you just gotta, like, I think part of it is just like we all hate taking out the trash. It's got to go out once a week. It's got to go out every night. You just got to do it.
Yeah. This is the toughest part about comedy.
Toughest part?
Yeah. I mean, right now, especially at my age, because like I'm super motivated.
Yeah.
But if I sit in my room and think about how motivated I am and like what I could be, I'm not doing much. You know what I'm saying? So, like actually getting out there is super tough for me, but just trying to work on it, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
So how, I know you're saying earlier, obviously COVID impacted the comedy. So how long did you go without a show for?
Probably. So, I mean, what happened was back when I was 20. Yeah, so when I was 23. So, like, when you start comedy, right, everyone's like, you're a loser, whatever. No one cares. Yeah, all right. So, you have to deal with that, right? And then you go to open mics and you shed a few tears while you're up there. You figure out, like, hey, am I going to do this or not, right? So, for me, that took, like, because I was always into sports, you know? So, I was like, I don't know. Like, I really like sports. I want to follow through with this. And then when that fell through and I actually started doing comedy, I was like, I don't know. Like, this is just who I am. You know what I mean? So you start doing open mics, and then you start doing bringer shows. So you have to bring people, right?
Yep.
So it's like you have to bring 5 people, or you can't do the show. And I remember, like, there was one month where I had 3 bringer shows. So the first one, people came out to. I tell my jokes.
Yeah.
I couldn't get anyone to come to the next 2 because they're like, dude, we know your jokes. Like, we're not gonna pay money to see the same jokes.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn it. So I remember bailing on these 2 bringer shows, and I wasn't even 21 at the time. I was like, I'm done with this.
Really?
Like, I can't do this. And I was just being sensitive. But then I got into it again, and I was just like, listen, man, like, if you're gonna do this, like, you can't stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kind of go all in.
Yeah. Like, go all in. This isn't like a 1-year thing. This is like a 15, 20-year thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna go all in. My biggest thing was like not going to open mics, right? And I really, like, you evolve over time, right? So I was always the coward who never went to open mics, but I would go to actual shows. Okay. And I would get booked on this Friday show after bringer shows. So like you wanna graduate from open mic to bringer. Well, you're always gonna do open mics, but you wanna graduate from bringer shows to I'm gonna go to the show and I don't have to bring anyone. There's already people in the crowd.
Yep.
And that's what I was doing. And then the virus hit, and I was on like an upward trajectory, and like I'm never the type of guy who's like, I had a good show. Like, I'll never say that. I'll never say I'm a comedian. I'm just a guy who does comedy, right? Because that's really what I am. I'm just like an open micer.
Yeah.
And then I took the trip up to Boston. I was like, I just want to see what Boston's like. Like, I had never been to an open mic there, so I went up there, right in the middle of downtown.
Okay.
Got booked for a show, and then the virus came. So I was like, I went to one open mic, got booked for one show in the heart of downtown Boston, and now, this happens.
Yeah.
And then it was a year straight. And people were like, dude, you had a year to write jokes. It's like, yeah, but I had a year to not try those jokes out in front of people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because, like, comedy's just, like, trial and error.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I write jokes all the time, and I'm like, dude, this is going to crush. Go up there and just...
Yep.
Yeah, just silence.
Yeah.
So, like, that went on for, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I was writing, but it's like, when you take a year off from something,
especially something that you used to, well, the epitome of it is doing it live on stage.
So there was no trial and error process, and it was just like that for like a year. And then obviously you have like the whole mask thing and stuff. So right now I'm just like, they always say comedy's peaks and valleys, but everyone has their own peaks and valleys at different times.
Yep.
But at this point in time, everyone's in a deep valley. You know what I mean? Like a really deep valley.
Yeah.
Like those, I feel bad. Like there's people out there who were, they were on a way more upward trajectory than I was. Maybe they were just about to headline, or maybe they were just about to feature, and now this happens, and now, you're basically just starting from like square one. Just going back to open mics, trying to get booked. That's all it is. That's all it ever was for me. But it's like, sometimes you get momentum and you're like,
yeah,
this
exactly.
is cool. And the other thing is, like, at that point in time, like, there was a lot of shows. Like, there was a lot of opportunity. Now, a lot of shows just aren't a thing anymore. Especially a lot of the shows, like, the Friday shows that I used to do at the Comedy Connection, those are no longer a thing. Like, the Late Show, I would do, like, the Late Show.
They don't have it there anymore?
They don't have it there anymore. So, it's just headliners.
Really?
Yeah. And if you're featuring for a headliner, like, you're a big deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like you're basically, like I said, you're just starting from square one, which is tough, but I don't know. I mean, you have to do it. Like you were gonna do it anyway. So I mean, like, I'm 25. I feel old because I started when I was 19. But, I mean, some other comedians start when they're 25. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure it's like with your athletic background. I mean, it's sort of like almost recovering from a major injury.
Yeah, it's
and
basically like you have to
Yeah.
get your feet back under you and like ease back into it. But
well, there's that discipline that's more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing for me was always open mics, because I was just like, people would be like, this kid doesn't even go to open mics and he's on the Late Show. Like, why can't I be on the Late Show? I'd be like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And now that I'm going to open mics, I'm just like, wow, like I could have been so much better.
Yeah.
Especially I went to Johnson and Wales, and when I was there, I was never like a big partier. I wasn't in a frat. I wasn't going out a lot on the weekends. I was just kind of like, I'd exercise, work out, go to class. That was really it. Now I was still doing comedy, but what I didn't realize, what I didn't truly fathom, was that all of the open mics are surrounding Johnson and Wales. They're in walking distance. Like, you could walk down the road, just go to an open mic. Like, I could have literally gone to class all day, exercised, done whatever I want, and then later that night just walked over to the open mic and just gotten better. But I guess that's the part, like, that's part of the evolution process, you know what I mean? Like, you figure that stuff later on.
Yeah, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, like, age, right? Nobody wants to listen to a 19-year-old talk about his life. You know what I mean? So you have to be creative, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing. So that's why I don't want to be isolated. Like, I still have to go out and, like, do stuff to write about stories and stuff and experience life. But
do you feel like your age, like being 25, gives you more of an advantage now than 19?
No.
No.
Because it's like, that was the one thing that really bothered me a lot. When I'd be in the green room, sometimes I'd be on like the Friday late shows, and like these guys would come in for like New York City and stuff, and they'd be like, dude, I just spoke to Gaffigan, like, or all these, and I'm just like sitting there like, whoa, like listening to them, and I'm 22 at the time, 23. I'm like, dude, if you can do this, like, like the fact that anyone would bring up your age is kind of like not offensive, but it's like, come on, man, don't bring me, like, don't think about, like, listen to me when I'm on stage, like, don't bring up my age.
Yeah.
Because time flies, man. Time zooms by.
Yes, it does.
And I'm aware of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the scariest thing to me, is like how fast time flies by.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So I'm the type of guy who's like, listen, I don't care like what my age is, like, what if, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just listen to.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's awesome.
At this point, it's like I said, it's like a 15, 20-year thing. Like, it's not like a 1-2 year thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what it is, man.
No, I remember the first time. I mean, I just saw it on Facebook where you were gonna. I think it was. Weren't you at something for Mohegan Sun?
Oh, the Sirius XM thing.
Maybe, I don't know, but it said at Mohegan Sun, and I saw like John Psyche, comedian, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, cause I just remember you as that quiet kid. I'm just like, I just found it awesome, because I figured, like I said, it's got to be a passion, and you're pursuing it.
Yeah.
So I can't believe you've been doing it. I mean, I know, like you said, the pandemic put a gap in it, but I didn't know you started at 19 and been doing it for 5-6 years.
Super inconsistent when I was 19, because I was in college.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got to be tough to do.
And I understand that, but after college, like, I mean, the whole goal is to like be consistent. And I think comedy's the coolest thing in the world, but I think it's cool because it's like, it's uncensored and it's like genuine. That's why I think it's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Yeah. Like, there's nothing cooler than like making people laugh.
Yeah.
But I mean, people like, a lot of people are like, dude, like, you're immature, like, things like that. And it's just like,
that's got to be annoying.
at least I'm like I'm not going to a job that I hate every day and doing
Yeah.
the same thing. I'm not waiting for Friday. You know what I mean?
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like,
Some people today, they just wait for hump day on Wednesday.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No. That's a good way. Because, like, even kids who ask, like, I know we were talking about this before, but find something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with people you like doing it with, because you don't want to count down the hours and you don't want to count down the days.
Yeah.
Would never want to do that at all.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing to me is just like...
Imagine waiting for Fridays for like 35 years.
That keeps me up at night, man.
Keeps you...
Yeah. We got a guy at work. He just got hired. And people were like, oh, like, what brought you here? He's just like, 7 years to retirement. It's like, dude, 7 years? He's like, yeah. Just waiting for that Social Security. And we're like,
Wow.
dude, you're not somebody I would look up to, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And unfortunately, I think that, I mean, I know I'm only 38, but I think that happens to too many people.
A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah. Too
Yeah.
many people.
It's unfortunate.
So,
yeah. But what was, I mean, when you were growing up, like, what were, like, the most, like, notable, like, societal differences?
from when I was growing up
Till
till now,
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 83, so I was like an 80s, 90s kid.
Yep.
It's funny because the other day, I went up to the Red Sox game with a couple of my buddies, and it was that Tuesday night one. We all got up there, rained out. All right.
Yep.
Unfortunately, 3 out of the 4 of us were able to go back on Wednesday, and we were there and we were talking about, because one of my buddies is a school psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about like all these trends.
Yeah.
All right. I know it's not so much as a societal difference. I'll get to that in a minute. But some of the trends
Mm-hmm.
that were popular, and now these kids today, they're doing it, and they think it's like the first thing that's happened, and they think it's amazing. We had these things, those slap bracelets.
Yep.
Those are making a comeback. All right. I remember when I was in 2nd grade on recess, I had a neon green and black one. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And if you like slapped it on your wrist, you thought you were like God. All right. So we're just talking about like some of the trends that are coming back, but societally, what I think is a lot different is I think just the pressure put on kids today. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was pressure, like when I was growing up, like in the 80s and 90s, but it was like unstructured pressure. Like I know this sounds like old, like back from the 50s, but when I was like, even at a young age, like kids are like, all right, you have school, and then all right, then you go to this practice and this lesson and that practice, and you're gonna eat at this time, and it's like the whole day for like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
It's just like laid out for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like where are they just gonna like make their own choices, play, do whatever?
Yeah.
And like I remember, like especially in the summertime, I would literally like go outside all day, hang out with my friends, and my mom would like yell my name from the door, like something you think back from like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And I just think like there's this structure where parents literally have a say in every single thing that their kid does.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a right or a wrong. I just think it's a major difference.
Yeah.
In terms of how you grow up. I almost think it's like healthy. I think growing up, like you should be bored sometimes, so you can figure out what you like.
Yeah.
Because no one's gonna sign you up for anything. No one's gonna make you happy. That's on you.
Yeah.
So I almost think you need to go through periods of boredom, especially like summertime boredom. Like I remember there were times in the summer in elementary school, like, yeah.
I remember summers being bored. Yeah.
Yeah, like being bored in the summertime. Well, you can't have something every day. You got to figure out what works for you, what you like, to keep your mind and your body occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I bring it up is 'cause, like, you're obviously a super mellow dude, and like you're not like one of those old people who's like always angry. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be that guy when I'm older. Like, I don't think I ever would be.
Yeah.
Because I'm super quiet.
Yeah.
Super relaxed all the time.
Yep.
But even, not in the workplace, but just like in society in general, like you see these old dudes who are just like, they're so angry at change. And it's like, I mean, obviously accepting change is important, but like, when do you draw the line? When you like, you know?
And that's the thing. Change is good.
Yeah.
Because I think in order to grow, and growth is change, there's going to be some sort of discomfort.
Yep.
All right. Just like you said with comedy, like, yeah, there's going to be those peaks and those valleys.
Yeah. A lot of valleys.
A lot of valleys.
Yeah.
All right. Guess what? Teaching, like, there's a lot of peaks and valleys with teaching too. Yeah. All right. Athletics, same thing. But there's a reason we all stick with it and do it. We take pride in it. We evolve. We become a better version of ourselves. We like, hopefully we provide something positive for people, but like, whatever is good at the end, it's on the other side of hard. Like, you got to go through something hard. All right. For that benefit to happen. Like, I firmly believe, like, most things that are good in life are on the other side of hard.
Yeah.
All right. And you can take that in, like I said, with sports. You can take it with a marriage, anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a good way to put it.
I don't know. A little bit of wisdom for 38.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to just go head first into it. You know what I mean? That's not the best approach, but yeah, I mean, it's time is scary, and then when time flies, you don't want to be that guy who wakes up later on in life and you're like, what if, you know?
Do you think that's one of the reasons they're so cranky?
I think yeah.
Too many regrets?
It's confusing because it's like, I mean, you have like the saying nowadays, like Karens, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Karens suck, but it's like, who is Karen raised by? You know, like, why is Karen the way she is? You know, so I think about that. And I hate angry people in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you should be grateful, like, you're even alive. But especially like with like politics nowadays and everything like that, like, that's where you see it a lot, is like the anger, because they're like, back in my day, you know, like, it's like, I mean, it isn't back in the day though, like, it's today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think anger is the solution at the end of the day.
And it's hard to say, like, yeah, we see as adults, we see the anger that's out there today. It's so easy to see on social media. Growing up, I don't know if that's a societal difference. Was that same anger there, but just
it's not publicized?
Hidden?
Yeah.
All right, not publicized. Maybe, I don't know. So it seems like a difference, but I really don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I really don't know. But I'm glad. I'm glad I grew up when I did. I know it sounds selfish, but
no. I was right on the border.
You were, yeah. So because you were born when
96.
Yeah. Like, so I was 13. All right. So yeah, because I don't know. I just think it's a lot harder to grow up today. All right, with the social media and how easily kids can be influenced.
Yeah.
So even myself, like my daughter, she's gonna start at Paintbox Preschool here in Cumberland.
Down the road?
Down the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But one day when she's in elementary school, like, I'm sure she's gonna see a classmate with a phone in first or second grade.
Yeah.
Like,
so
she's gonna come home and want it.
So you're kind of like, I mean, I don't mean this in like a bad way, but you kind of like want your kids to fail to learn from it. Because like, if I have a kid, maybe one day, you know, maybe one day, if I have a kid, right,
you just want to put him into a dark hole so they
put
fail.
him in a puddle, you know, just so he knows what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of want, because like everything I learned was like from failing. Well, if somebody was like I don't even know, like Jordan Peterson has an analogy. He's like, listen, there's two type of parents, right? You're approaching a puddle. One parent will be like, hey, walk around the puddle.
Yep.
The other parent won't say anything.
Yep.
I don't know.
I tend to think I'm the second one.
Yeah.
Because we've walked through a lot of puddles. All right. But it's weird. It's funny that you say that. because I don't think any parent naturally wants their child to fail.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, but I do think failure can be healthy because you grow from discomfort. And it's weird because you talk about all these quotes that are online, especially regarding sports. I mean, it's become so cliche now. Like, you need to face adversity in sports. You need to lose, all right, and come back from an injury or come back from a tough game.
Yeah.
But when that happens in life outside of sports, then it's almost like it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's wrong. So, do I want her to fail? Maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Help her learn, help her grow.
Yeah.
And even as a parent, I know you probably don't want to hear like parenting advice right now.
Yeah.
But I've noticed like she's going to be 5. My oldest daughter, Reagan, she's going to be 5 in a couple weeks. And if she knows she did something wrong, she might start becoming emotional and crying. Like, one thing my wife and I never do, we can count on one hand in 5 years the number of times we raised our voice, because it's like, all right, if you did something wrong, we don't call it wrong. We just say you learn. You're just going to learn from this.
Yeah.
All right. And try to improve on it the next time. Because I think what life is, like, every day and every year, and I say this, I probably didn't say it when you were in my class, because it's something I kind of came up with like maybe 8 years ago. On the first day of school, I always tell students, and I'm sure some of it goes right over their head, in one ear, out the other. And it's the first day of high school. They're worried about who they're eating lunch with, etc. But you're in my class for 8.5 months. Hopefully, I say by the time you leave here in June, hopefully you're a better version of yourself in some capacity. Whether you're a better writer, all right, you're more analytical, you can make better inferences, you're more self-aware, better collaborative worker. Like, it's just about growth.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I hate this mantra of something's right or wrong. It's just growth.
Yep.
And just take it for what it is, growth. And how do you grow? It's usually from error. All right? You said it's with like being a comedian, trial and error.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you before we wrap up. Like, I was gonna ask you, like, I mean, you kind of just answered it, but
okay.
If you had, for the people listening who have had you in class, other people who might not know you.
Yep.
If you had, one message of advice to those people, what would it be?
One message.
Could be multiple messages, but. After
well, anyone who's listening and wants advice from a 38-year-old English teacher.
Yeah, I mean, you have all,
Yep.
You're still pretty young.
Yeah. But. No, I consider myself blessed to still be young, but have had the experiences professionally that I have had. If I had one piece of advice, and I think this is something I still work on myself, figure out who you are and just be comfortable with it. Just figure out who you are and be comfortable with it. Both the strengths, the weaknesses, all right? And that's just part of who you are. And if there are parts of yourself you don't like, work on them, all right? Because I think life is just an evolution of figuring out who you are. Because, like I said, you don't want to be those cranky old men at 60. All right, maybe they're still trying to figure out who they are. All right, because they haven't changed much from 15 or 25 or 35 or even 45. So just kind of figure out who you are, be comfortable with that, and I don't know, that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what goals do you have right now for yourself as far as moving forward?
Moving forward, so I don't know. It's hard. Like, I'm 38. Like, my buddies and I joke, like, shoot, we're almost 40. Like, it seems scary because a lot of my buddies, like, we've been friends since high school. Kind of like a smaller part of our core group has stayed friends since we all were pretty local for college.
Yep.
And having 2 young children, one of my fears is not being a good parent. So short term, I just want to be the best parent, the best father I can be.
Yeah.
Especially to 2 daughters. I know the whole cliche out there, the whole girl dad thing.
Girl dad.
Yeah, my wife bought me a shirt the other week.
Wow.
Yeah, I've worn it twice.
It's official.
Yeah, it's official. And I know it can. I just want to raise them to have a positive view of themselves, because I know how easy. Especially now, I'm seeing how easy groups and certain people can be torn down. So, short term, I just want to be the best father that I can be. And at CHS, hopefully, I'm still teaching freshman English. I still enjoy it. And I'm just going to try to
Keep crushing it.
keep crushing it the best I can.
Yeah. I appreciate you for coming by.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
I mean, like I said, definitely my favorite teacher of all time. I mean, think about it. It's been 11 years.
Yeah. I was
a long
surprised how
time.
long it has been.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly.
I thought it had been under 10.
Yeah.
I thought it had been under 10, but no, when you reached out and said, "Hey, you want to be on?" I was like, "Why not?"
Yeah,
All
why
right,
not, man?
why not?
I wish everyone said that. You know.
Some people really say no?
I mean, I've been kept on red a few times.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
All
all
right.
right though.
All right.
You know.
Yeah.
Hey, peaks and valleys, right?
Peaks and valleys. All right.
No,
But no, thanks for having me on, John. And
no, we'll keep up with each other.
no, we definitely will.
I mean, hopefully I'll see you in another comedy show.
Yep.
I'll see you around. I mean,
Yep.
But honestly, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for everything you taught me, and I think people are really gonna like this episode.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks.